My name is Brian O'Hara, Brian O''Hara. I am the Minneapolis Police Chief. Uh, This weekend, we've seen an unacceptable level of crime and violence. Since Thursday, there have been 9 shootings in the city, as well as 3 murders. But what's particularly disturbing is just since last night, 6 of those 9 shootings occurred and all 3 murders occurred. In response to that, I assembled the command staff today, as well as our partners, both from the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Hennepin County Attorney's Office, FBI, ATF, and the BCA. And so we have our own investigators working around the clock, and we're increasing patrols in certain areas that we know have become problematic as of late. In addition, today I asked for and I received help from the Minnesota BCA, as well as the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office. Obviously, staffing in Minneapolis has been a challenge, and when we have a number of these incidents happening so closely in time, it overwhelms our ability to investigate them properly. So I'm thankful that the BCA as well as the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office are going to be helping us with the investigations, as well as the Sheriff's Office is going to be stepping up patrols in a number of the locations that have been problematic. The details of what cases they work and how many squads will be deployed to Minneapolis is still being worked out, but they will be here to assist. The U.S. Attorney's been briefed, and the Hennepin County Attorney's Office also is offering to help in any way in advance as we prepare for charges. And I'm incredibly grateful for everyone's willing to help Minneapolis on a moment's notice. Thanks to our partners, I'm confident that we will be able to track down and hold those responsible and end this spike in violence. But it does show how important it is that we continue to hire police officers for our police department. Our department is short-handed, and you can't always predict when something like this would occur, and you certainly can't prevent a spike in violence like the one that we are currently experiencing. We shared information on these incidents with the federal partners, as well as state and county, and all are poised to help us if needed. And for that, again, I'm extremely grateful. In all, since Thursday, we have seen violence that resulted in 2 men being fatally shot and 1 man being fatally stabbed. 7 other men were injured by gunfire. I'm deeply grateful for our law enforcement partners who have stepped up to help us track down those responsible and to help end these heinous acts. I'll give you a brief synopsis of each incident, but to summarize, we suspect that at least 3 of these incidents were related to auto theft in some way. 1 occurred at a party and alcohol was a contributing factor. 1 involved a carjacking. 1 was an incident of domestic violence, and at least 1 of these incidents occurred between parties known to each other. July 25th at 1:30 a.m., there was a shooting at 24th and Bloomington, and officers found an adult male with apparently non-life-threatening gunshot wound. Preliminary information indicates that the male was shot while sitting inside of his car. Also on July 25th, approximately 1:30 a.m., there was a shooting where officers responded to an individual who was riding a motorcycle. Officers located 1 adult male with apparent life-threatening gunshot wound. Officers provided medical aid until EMS arrived and he was transported to Hennepin Healthcare. On July 25th, approximately at midnight, officers from the 4th Precinct responded to a shooting in the 3200 block of Penn Avenue. Officers identified an adult male with apparent non-life-threatening gunshot wound. The information preliminarily indicates that the man was walking outside when shots were fired. Officers checked the shot spotter but could not locate a crime scene. The injured male was transported to the hospital. On the next day, July 26th, approximately 1:57 a.m., there was a shooting where officers from the 1st Precinct responded to the 200 block of Oak Grove Street. Officers located an adult male with an apparent life-threatening gunshot wound. Officers provided medical aid until EMS arrived, and the male was transported to Hennepin Healthcare. Preliminary information indicates that the male was inside a vehicle when an individual removed him from the vehicle and took it. While the vehicle was being taken, shots were fired and the victim was struck. His vehicle was later located by St. Paul PD, and there has been 1 arrest from that incident. And now to last night, July 27th, approximately 7:13 p.m., shooting homicide. Officers from the 5th Precinct responded to a shooting in the 2600 block of 3rd Avenue South and identified a 20-year-old male with a life-threatening gunshot wound. Officers provided medical aid, including CPR. The injured male was transported to Hennepin Healthcare, where he later died. Preliminary information indicates that the injured male was outside with a group when shots were fired. 10 minutes later, 7:23 p.m., there was a shooting where officers from the 3rd Precinct responded and identified a male shot on the 2600 block of Cedar Avenue South. He had a potentially life-threatening gunshot wound. Officer provided immediate medical aid, including chest seals and a tourniquet, and the victim was transported to Hennepin Healthcare. Preliminary information indicates that the man was walking on the 2500 block of Cedar Avenue after meeting with a group of individuals when shots were fired. The injured male then ran to the 2600 block of Cedar Avenue South, where he collapsed. At 9:08 p.m. last night, there was a shooting where officers from the 4th Precinct responded to a report shots fired and identified a male with apparent non-life-threatening gunshot wound. He was transported to North Memorial Health. Preliminary information indicates that there was an altercation between the injured male and someone that he knew that then escalated to gunfire. The shooter had left the scene before the officers arrived. Shortly after midnight, approximately 12:37 a.m. last night, there was a shooting in the 4th Precinct where officers responded to a shot spotter activation near West Broadway and Penn and located evidence of gunfire. A short time later, a stolen vehicle with damage from apparent gunfire crashed near 16th Avenue and Penn. The vehicle was unoccupied when officers arrived. An 18-year-old male with an apparent non-life-threatening gunshot wound was then dropped off at North Memorial Healthcare. About 40 minutes later, approximately 1:13 a.m., there was a shooting homicide. Officers from the 4th Precinct responded to a shot spotter activation on the 3200 block of Penn Avenue North. Officers located a 45-year-old man with life-threatening gunshot wounds on the sidewalk near Lowry and Penn. He was receiving medical aid from Minneapolis firefighters. The injured male was transported to the hospital, where he later was pronounced deceased. At 3:15 a.m., there was a stabbing homicide. Officers from the 4th Precinct responded to a stabbing that occurred inside a residence on the 3400 block of Penn Avenue North. 31-year-old male was stabbed multiple times. Officers rendered immediate medical aid until the man was transported to North Memorial Healthcare Center. Despite all life-saving efforts, the man died at the hospital. 911 callers said they heard screaming during a party at the residence. Preliminary information indicates that an altercation occurred inside the residence, escalating to a shooting. There has been an arrest in this case as well. The Hennepin County Medical Examiner will release the names of the individuals who were killed, but we are asking any members of the public that have any information about these incidents to please call Crime Stoppers or also submit tips anonymously online. Again, our officers have been working all of these cases around the clock, doing the best they can. However, this again just highlights the seriousness of the problem that we have around staffing in the city. And certainly when we have a number of murders that happen in a close period of time, a number of serious crimes happening, I'm thankful that we have law enforcement partners to call upon to help us, because certainly time is of the essence in investigating these. At the same time, also, I think it's important to highlight that there were thousands and thousands of people who came to the city this weekend and were able to do so safely. They came to the fireworks last night for Aquatennial, and thousands of people were safe to do that. But clearly it shows, we have a lot of work to do in a number of areas that are problematic. And it's incredibly important that we continue to push for staffing the police department so that we're able to prevent some of these incidents better, but if nothing else, certainly respond to and investigate them thoroughly. And with that, I'll open it up for any questions.
Is it frustrating to have so many incidents in one weekend in your city?
It is frustrating. Last night, that's 6 shootings, 3 murders. That's more than all the shootings and all the murders we had all of last week.
Right.
So I understand that as we move forward, we will have spikes. We will have bad days. We will have bad weekends. We will have bad weeks. But it is very frustrating. And I just think it's important for people to understand how critical it is that the police department get fully staffed as quickly as possible. Police are not sufficient, certainly, to prevent all of these things from happening. We can't fix a lot of the root causes behind a lot of the crime issues in the city, but certainly it is a very necessary component. Police are absolutely necessary to try and respond to and prevent and to keep people safe.
Do you think, were any of these like retaliatory towards like one shooting led to another or anything like that? I mean, I know it's early on in the investigation and all that, but.
Yeah, so I don't have information on that. That is possible. I don't have any specifics on that. One thing we're always concerned about when a number of things happen so quickly, is there connections between them? Was there a tit for tat, or was there a spree of some kind? And at least at this time, it does not appear that any of these were related. Again, probably about 3 of them are related in some way to auto theft. One was a party, alcohol was involved. One was a carjacking. There was an arrest there. And one was a domestic dispute, where between 2 individuals, and another one a dispute between 2 individuals known to each other. So it's a lot of different things that just happened very quickly and close in time together.
And what did you call it? I'm sorry, was it a task force that you gathered?
I just saw what happened overnight and called for the command staff to come in and meet, and also reached out to all of the other law enforcement partners, and everyone was incredibly receptive. The sheriff, the BCA superintendent, U.S. Attorney, Hampton County Attorney's Office, FBI, everyone's willing to help. And I just think it's important when stuff like this happens that we share information as quickly as possible, because it's always possible that something that happens here could impact an investigation that a different agency has, as well as it has now gotten us commitments both to investigating some of these incidents, because we're kind of overwhelmed when so many cases happen so quickly, with staffing being so short, but also helping us plan for how we're going to move forward. The residents will see, starting tonight, but especially tomorrow and for the rest of the week, there will be visible stepped up enforcement. We have an operation going on all week long with all of our partners, and we're going to meet again tomorrow to try and figure out if there's any additional cases we could add on to what we're working this week based on what occurred over the weekend.
Do you see more of an uptick in the weekend, and are you planning on maybe being a little bit more visible to the public on weekends or anything like that?
Well, there were hundreds of extra workers.
Overnight, so,
yes, yeah. There were hundreds of extra officers working. They were where the people were last night. They were downtown when bar close happened. We had extra officers, obviously, with Aquatennial. A lot of these things occurred inside of residences, but there's certainly some locations that are known to be problematic for us that we have been working on, that we need additional help, and we've gotten commitments to do that.
Can I get the dates one more time from you, and then the murders?
So the murders were all last night. Yeah. I addressed crime the shootings that have been happening since Thursday. If you were to go since Thursday, it's been 9 shootings, 3 murders. 2 of the shootings resulted in murder. 1 was a stabbing that was a murder. And if you were just talking since last night, it's 6 shootings, and all 3 murders happened last night. That's why I was so concerned this morning. And it's obviously not something that can wait till Monday morning.
With the Aquatennial happening last night, and I imagine most forces kind of dedicated to that area, does it slow down response times?
The Aquatennial was all additional staffing, just like downtown is during bar close. That's all added additional officers. And it's needed because that's where we have thousands and thousands of people, and we also know we need it downtown because that's when everybody's drinking, and the last few years there have been too many people going to their cars than to get guns. So that was very successful. It's just these other incidents happening, we know we can't prevent all of them. We can't prevent every domestic incident, especially if there's no history of domestic violence that results in a shooting. We can't prevent, where necessarily every robbery or carjacking may happen. But certainly, we do the best we can to focus on the people that we think are most at risk for committing these crimes and trying to get them off the street, working with all of our partners, which is why I wanted everybody on the call today. And also trying to deploy our limited resources to be present in the areas where stuff is concentrating. Obviously there's spots that have been concentrations. One of them is affected by last night, but then there's other places where things happened. It just happened to be where people were at the moment.
What's that spot you were just referring to, that concentration?
The Penn Avenue corridor has been terrible, around 36th and Penn. We're doing work, investigative work. We have made arrests even last week that were significant there. But it's been terrible, and we need to get it fixed.
Gang related to that area, or?
There's a problem. I'm sure you could talk to the residents there. They could tell you in depth, but there's certainly a problem with illicit drug sales, and then the violence that comes with that. I would say that's the main driver, because that's certainly not the only place where there's gang activity.
Apologies if I missed it, but was there an arrest in that stabbing?
There was an arrest in the stabbing, and there was an arrest in the carjacking.
Mm-hmm.
So the stabbing was a murder, and the carjacking was a non-fatal shooting.
Oh yeah, and then with the operation, anything else you want to alert the public to as far as an increase of officers in a particular neighborhood?
Yep. We will be doing that. We'll be scheduling a media day once plans are finalized with how we're going to readjust things. I do think we're going to be doing that on Tuesday. We're going to meet again tomorrow morning based on everything that we've learned from these investigations and see if there's anything we need to readjust.
Did you say Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wednesday?
Does it seem like there's any connections to any of these events?
What do you mean by events?
The same people, the same group, the same, what?
There's no connections between the incidents themselves. One area, one corridor has been problematic this year, and some of these individuals are people who are known to us. So in that sense, yes, there's always, not always, but generally some connections to information that we know in the past, generally.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time, gentlemen. Thank you so much, especially the short notice.